I need you to stop doing what you're doing so effectively, please.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I like what you're doing. Did you think about doing it this way, though?
How would you like to do it without that?
How do you overcome that? Yeah. Welcome back to another episode of Table Salt. I am Jake. This is Kenny.
What's up?
We're back with another episode of Salty Takes. If you want to be featured next week in our Salty Takes videos, make sure to leave a comment down below. Let us know that it is a salty take, and next week you might be featured.
And this week's Salty Take is brought to you by Harps SW3390. Salty Take. Playing high power non-CDH is the best form of Commander. Full-blown CDH is boring, and full-on jank, though funny, tends to get old after a couple of games. Nothing is more satisfying than optimizing a deck through trial and error, playtesting with the group, and showing off the new cardboard that's pushing the limits of what your deck can do.
Well, to me, that's not really a salty take. That's how I build decks. So,
I mean, I can see where you could presume it as a salty take, but at the same time, I mean, a lot of people will be building that way. It's a total preference on how people want to play the game.
right.
Makes sense?
And it falls right in line to what we're talking about today,
Perfect.
which is just about like optimization. Why it is difficult to not optimize your decks, because we've been in Commander for a while. I feel like we've built different decks for different goals in mind.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, like especially for me, I optimize decks. I like the optimization of it. I think just Commander in general makes it a lot easier to optimize overall, and we're going to get into why that is today, and why it's hard to not optimize, and then just some options in general if you're looking to do something other than optimization. So, let's kick it off though. What kind of makes it difficult to not optimize your decks these days, Kenny?
I mean, the common one, we talked about it offline, was like the power creep of the game. The amount of cards that are being printed out there in the world that do what you want it to do, only better. And now they're making 3 of them in every set. So it's really hard not to have your deck perform at that optimal level.
Right.
And I mean, even jank decks want to perform optimally because they want you to do their thing. But there's a reason why they're jank. It's not because they don't want to be optimized, but it's just they print so many good cards that do everything you want them to do, and then some, and then a couple more things after it's all said and done too.
Right.
So it's difficult. Power creep in general.
Right. And I think maybe we should define our terms a little bit as well as far as power creep, because what power creep is really doing at the end of the day is just making games overall faster. Which some people do like. Like I said, like I do build optimization, so I like more of a faster games. I'd like to get more games in a night than just one like slog of a game. Just personal preference. I mean, I don't mind those, but just not every time. But like as far as power creep, really, it just comes down to when we talk about that, it's usually that there's a card that does something similar to maybe a card that's printed in the past, but just better. Either it's faster, like it's cheaper to get out. It does more things when it does come out. It's harder to interact with, and certain things like do the same thing, but like have a split second on it.
Yeah.
This is one example. Just certain things that Wizards will do either to change the mechanics, make a better mechanic that will overall just either speed up the game or make it harder to stop that sort of game plan.
Yeah.
And I think we're at a point in Commander where it's happening so much with all this product that it's you either get on the train or it's going to leave you behind at the station. Like, so that alone, I think, just makes it hugely difficult.
Agreed. And it's not just the Commander format as well. It's
Right.
every other format is being affected by all these mass printings and just really good cards being dumped into the format.
Right.
I think Commander is just now starting to feel the effects because the cards are really good.
Right. Well, especially because they're printing for Commander.
Yeah.
A lot. So that they're obviously going to be printing stuff specifically with Commanders in mind, and obviously they want people to be interested in these cards, and power obviously gets people interested. So it just naturally happens.
Everything is for Commander anymore. It's terrible.
Right. Well, no. They're doing standard stuff. That's what the whole Universe Beyond stuff is for, Kenny.
It's not like that can't be used as Commander either.
That's true. I think another thing that makes it difficult beyond just the pace of games is the amount of resources that are available for Commander players that have to do a lot with just averages. They have a lot of data as far as like these websites that you go to on how to build decks, what cards are available, and it's the aggregate. They're taking what is popular, and usually what's popular is power.
Yeah, and that's, I think with that optimization in mind, like it is a game, and a lot of people will approach it as I'm trying to win the game, right? And these websites will provide you a lot of data that will help you find you that better line, like what tutors are going to do where, what cards are going to be optimal, what is going to help you achieve victory at turn 4, turn 5, and if that's your game, then that's your game, man. But like that's exactly what they're designed to do, is help you win. And if winning is the ultimate goal, then these websites are for you. But this video might not be.
Well, so and that's not necessarily a fault of the websites themselves. No. Obviously, like it's doing what it's supposed to do. It's giving you the data.
Exactly.
It's showing you what kind of is necessarily like easy to do, which is show you what's good. They're not necessarily built to show you what's fun. You know, like they're not necessarily to show you like what if like what's flavorful. Like if you go on, I know a lot of people reference. I really recommend Scryfall just for a lot of things. It's a great site. You can search by anything necessary. So if you're looking for other things to go in your decks besides just if it's popular or if it synergizes well, great website. But it doesn't tell you how to build a deck like other sites do, which are built for that in mind. And I think people just kind of fall into that because it's easier. You know, as mammals, we want to go the path of least resistance.
Smarter, not harder, right?
Using your calories, you want to make sure you're not doing too much all the time, especially like if you're building a lot. Like I build a lot of decks. I use these deck building websites a lot, and you know, it's just easier.
Yeah. It makes sense. And it's not just the websites either. There's a lot of content creators out there that are doing the same thing. And like you were saying earlier, I know I was saying this jokingly, but it's kind of funny. Like no creator is going to tell you how to build a terrible deck. Yeah, right. They're all going to say, hey, take these 10 out. These are the 10 best ones. How do you make this even better? How do you do this, do that? They never tell you how to suboptimally build a deck. And so that resource right there, and they have their reach, and there's other people in the comment section that'll recommend these better cards that may actually fit. So if you're paying attention to any amount of information building a deck specifically for a commander card, whatever, you're going to run into those resources available to you, and more than likely you're going to fall down that rabbit hole.
Right. And we shouldn't, obviously these are generalized statements. Obviously not nobody is making these. Like I actually really like when people come out with like themed deck ideas. Those to me are really cool. But I mean they look really cool on paper.
Yeah. As a member of the I have a themed deck community, they're never good.
They can be.
They look cool. They sound cool. They look cool.
There's obviously they're making some exceptions in favor of flavor rather than optimization.
Exactly.
And we'll get more into those restrictions. But I do agree that like when a new set or a new commander gets spoiled, like everyone's coming out like, you know, you have the 15 upgrades that come out. You have the how to build this commander super good, and there's like 20 videos you can go and watch. It's popular content for a reason, just because that playstyle is popular. But to go away from that and to do something either yourself or to find content even that has good ideas that you want to try is harder. Just it by nature of there being less.
Exactly.
So and the other thing too about just the popularity is the Ouroboros effect, which is just the snake eating the snake eating its own tail type of thing, where it's when you build optimized and you come to a game store, you incentivize that kind of play because it kind of creates that optimized atmosphere where those decks reign supreme.
And once that happens, it's at a certain point, everybody's going to try to level up to get get the better everything. And then it's a natural arms race, right? We all want to have the best. We all want to win on turn before he did. Right. And at that point we become CDH players. And as fun as CDH is, as long as everybody else, like for me, I enjoy, I don't thoroughly enjoy it, but it's fun because we all have the same goal. Everybody's high powered, and it just makes for an interesting game.
Right. Yeah, I think there's a little bit of a slippery slope argument to be had there, where it's just like, well, once you start optimizing, you're going to be playing CDH, because that's not always the case. Like you can, but the line does start to get a little blurry. Like with
Yes, it does.
because like CDH it's competitive. Like everyone goes there knowing what they're going to do. They're trying their best to optimize to a T,
Right.
but it does create some very consistent play patterns. Usually. With Commander, if you're still sometimes making sacrifices for anything other than optimization, I still think it's not considered CDH. But yeah, the line definitely does get blurry.
It does. I agree with you, and it's kind of funny, like because everybody, if you sit down with a random pot of 4, nobody will understand which deck is what. And they like as far as optimizing, some people it's purely subjective at this point. Like what cards are considered optimized. And a lot of these people that come in and play, they're relatively new. I mean, we'll say 3-4 years, right? And they haven't seen half the cards I've seen.
Right.
And so they won't know what optimization is and what it isn't. They only know the last 4 years or whatever else they've been playing against. So naturally, they just go to that.
Right. And I think when we think of optimized, usually, and maybe we should have defined this at the beginning of the episode.
We'll get it. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. But like optimized usually just means like it's consistent, it's decently quick, reliable. I guess mostly it is just consistent. Does it do the thing well, and does it do it often? Because that's the best pathway usually to winning, especially if you have a good win con, like a good reliable win con. So when you have restrictions put in place that make it take longer, cost more mana, have less protection, just stuff like that, we're still it gets convoluted and messy quick. So
it is, and everybody built the deck to do the same thing, right? Whatever they built the deck to do.
Right, because and I agree with the salty take, because it is like you want to do the thing.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
It is about doing the thing. You want to make sure that your deck functions.
I need to have my, as you said, my beaver deck having 23 beavers on the floor,
Right,
and doing whatever that happens to do.
Yeah, yeah. If beavers are your thing, that's optimized. If you want to optimize for beavers, go ahead.
Yeah, we won't help you on that.
I have no idea how to help you. I don't even know if beavers is an actual creature type. I have no idea. Who knows? Some weird ones out there.
Let us see your beaver deck.
Just to kind of wrap up the why it's difficult portion of this video. It's just there will be some people who are somewhat forced into the optimization play pattern because that's what everyone else is doing. But really, like, there's people who do actually enjoy that play style. Like I'm one of them. I enjoy the consistency, that speed. I don't go into CDH for that reason, because I still do like that. I want to be able to not have to optimize always forever.
Yeah.
But that is a popular way to play the game at the end of the day.
It is, and you for me it's a little different because I like to play competitive formats, and I thoroughly enjoy that sideboard aspect of it, which I think is why I never went to the optimization of what my deck wants to do. I just always went backwards, and I want to stop everybody else from doing what they need to do. Not like a Staxy way, but I really just want to hose whatever XYZ
You just
deck
want to throw wrenches in
all
people's
day
plans,
long.
Yeah. Well, it's not. But the play pattern is not to be mischievous, though.
Yeah,
Like, it's just you want people to think about what they're doing.
Yeah, I need you to stop doing what you're doing so effectively, please.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I like what you're doing. Did you think about doing it this way, though?
How would you like to do it without that?
How do you overcome that? Yeah. And that is I think why that is appealing, is just you want to be able to feel like you're contributing to the game in ways that you want. Yeah. You want to feel a part of it. It really sucks if you're sitting there with an unoptimized precon and you sit there and it's turn 4 and you go land pass, like so you don't have your mana curve maybe not be great at that point. So like there's a reason why it's popular, is because having your deck do the thing consistently, there is a level of enjoyment to that. So.
Agreed.
But that does bring us to the other options that you have besides optimization. When you're as deck builders, all of us, building our decks, there comes a time when we're at a little bit of a fork in the road as far as and this isn't one instance. This is every single card, every one of the 100 that you put in there. This is the choice that you have to make, which is, am I going to put it optimized as much as I want, or do I want to make a sacrifice and go with maybe a restriction that either sounds fun, or is just better for the gameplay of my group, whatever. So let's talk about some of those.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, there's, we had a lot of takes about money. So we'll start off with the budget. That's probably the simplest way to get things done. I mean,
it's a very common restriction.
Yeah, it is. A lot of people. I mean, I've had some really fun times building a deck on a budget. It's more of a challenge. Because you might be able to use one good card, two good cards, but you're not going to use all 99 of those good cards. And it was a lot more challenging on the back end when building the deck, but it was also very much a challenge in the gameplay because your deck sucks.
And there's a slight correlation between the amount of money a card is worth and how optimized it is, because certain decks, obviously, there's some really cheap cards that fit into decks that will optimize that deck to a T. A good example, just not a certain deck, just every white deck, Source Plowshares. That is the best removal spell in the game. And it is like cheap.
Yep.
You can get it anywhere.
It's been printed into the dirt.
It'll fit. It's like maybe for restriction for game plan is we do budget and not white. Like that's your caveat. Because you can still really like optimize pretty decently well for certain cards, even on a budget. But there's obviously going to be things that will be out of your reach depending on what your budget is set.
Depending on your budget, it's going to make the gameplay and the deck building choices you make a lot more difficult, just because of monetary purposes. But I've always found it a lot funner when it comes to building a deck and playing a deck, because you got to think a little bit more about it. And I think I've really enjoyed the deck building portion of it all, and that's really been fun to me.
Yeah, and obviously I think it also just depends on what the budget is set to. It's just I can't spend more than $200 on a card. I
don't think that's anybody's. I don't think that's anybody's budget deck.
That might be budget for someone, not us.
It's definitely budget for me.
Yeah, like for me, I'm not accustomed. I'm not accustomed, but I'm not super.
Say it.
I don't usually build budget. I'm not a stranger to spending $20, $25 on a card if it works well on my deck. So, like a budget for me, I'm just like, I can't spend. It can't be more than $5 for a card. Which for some people are like, whoa, that's crazy. It's gonna be an expensive deck. Yeah, yeah, I agree. Not every deck's gonna be that, or not every card's gonna be that expensive. But I can't have anything more than $5 in it. So I haven't done that because I spend money on cards. But it is a restriction that is very popular, either self-imposed or not, to build decks, and I think it can create very fun play patterns. I agree. To do in a budget. It makes it sparks a lot of creativity.
It does.
The kind of with budget is just very common. It just everybody does this really. It's just play the cards you already own. You don't need to get more.
Huge fan of this. I have a collection of garbage cards that have no homes in any other format other than Commander, and there is no reason for me to go off and purchase any card whatsoever because I have something that is stupid that it's super cheap. It doesn't cost me a lot of money. I already have a copy. Right. I'd rather use that than just going off and buy something. Yeah, is it optimal? You're right, it's not. But I got it. That's all I need.
And again, mileage will vary with this one because your collection might not be as big.
That's true.
I don't keep a lot of bulk in my collection. I usually, if I open up a pack, I keep the ones that I'm interested in and that I feel like will be good in Commander, and I just either give the other ones away or give them to you. It's because that's the format I play, and if it doesn't work in Commander, then I don't necessarily need it.
Makes sense.
So my bulk is lacking. So for my collection, when I'm constantly turning things in for store credit and buying new cards and coming in and out, it's a little bit harder for me because I don't have access to that. That's kind of self-imposed, but for people who have lots of cards, whether playing for a long time, I'll only play with cards that I have. I've also been playing for 30 years, and I have like 4 guys cradles. Like, yeah, it's not necessarily, it's a restriction. I'll give you that one.
It's true. It's true.
So it may not have quite the effect you think it does.
Yeah, well, you saw my standard bulk today.
Yeah.
it's a lot because we have to buy boxes. It's because I play in all the formats. I have to have a lot of bulk.
Right.
And so that just because I have that excess of dumb cards that worked at one point in time.
Yeah.
Hey, let's try to keep it happening. Let's
Right.
enjoy the times when I used to use them and try to make a commander deck out of it.
I like it.
And it usually doesn't work.
Yeah. Sometimes
It does what it's supposed to do.
your decks are good, Kenny. Your decks are pretty good. Another restriction that is pretty fun is just picking an unsupported archetype. We mentioned beavers earlier. Like it's probably I'm gonna keep using beavers. I don't care. I have no idea if they're cards or not. But like we'll throw out an obvious one, like elves. Elves are really easy to build around. They have so much support. They work really well together. They're really easy. Slivers is another one.
Eldrazi now.
Eldrazi's, they have a new commander that makes it really easy to build Eldrazi's with big payoffs. So like there are archetypes that are really well supported.
Yeah,
and there are others that are not.
Exactly. Rabbits.
Hey, Heir Apparent.
Heir Apparent is gonna be cool.
Heir Apparent is real good. It's a expensive uncommon or common.
That's just like all the ones that are that type, right? They're always like $5. Even Dragon's Approach was a terrible card, but it's still $2 a piece.
Is it only $2?
Yeah. Just like everything else, they're all that way. Slimes of humanity or something like that. Anyway.
I will give Wizards credit. They have been printing, as they've been printing for Commander. They have been printing support for other archetypes recently. I think I don't know if this is a jump. I think it's a jumpstart card, but it's like a unicorn horse Pegasus tribal commander, which like I've actually been looking for something like that because I have a niece who want to introduce into Magic, and she just loves unicorns.
Of course.
Loves them. and my sister also just loves unicorns. I have no hope for her in Magic, but that's an archetype that doesn't necessarily have like commander specific support, and I think that's cool that they're printing stuff like that. So, but even without it, like you could pick whatever, and then you're just like, oh yeah, it's just I have Corvold as my commander, but I'm running Horse Tribal. Like I don't know, stuff like that.
It doesn't make sense, but it works, I guess. Yeah, as far when it comes to those types of things, I mean, there's a lot of unsupported groups out there, and just having us find it all is going to be, it should be fairly difficult, but because it's going to take a lot of time, a lot of effort on our part researching, because again, not a lot of content creators, not a lot of websites are going to point you in the right direction to build a terrible deck. It's just the way that is, and so I think it's a blast trying to, I mean, you've seen my Cup Tribal deck.
Your Cup Tribal deck.
That's what I'm calling it.
Yeah, I have seen your Cup Tribal deck. That is not a supported archetype, Kenny. So you got that. You nailed that right on the head. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't need to talk too much about it.
We don't need to talk too much about
it. It's kind of
funny. You can probably guess. You throw the deck list down below.
Yeah, for those of you to know me.
Yeah, so there's lots. So we could go on and on about the different unsupported archetypes, but just finding something that doesn't have support, or even picking a commander that doesn't support that archetype, and just like having a mishmash of that can be a really fun restriction to put on yourself to make it more engaging. So, like, I was gonna mention, Cody, but never mind. That doesn't.
Cody goes right into the next one.
Cody does, yeah. So it does. So the next restriction is like having higher CMC cards. This can this isn't necessarily like, because people do this regardless. Yep. Like you have one mana cards that does something, 2 mana cards that does something, 3 mana cards that does a similar thing. All up to, like, oh, I'm gonna pay 10 mana for this thing, when in actuality I could get this better card that's 5 mana that does something similar. But having high C, like your mana curve like looks like this and then shoots up. Like, that can be fun, especially if you feel like people like big splashy stuff, and that can be fun in restriction.
Exactly. For me, and you were mentioning the Cody deck, like my average is 7.6 on my CMC. I love it. Like there is nothing funner than backbreaking cards playing Battle Cruiser Magic, and I just enjoy high CMC because usually cool things that they're not going to win the game. They're not going to win the game. But
Cody's won the game before.
Yeah, I guess
I've seen it happen at least once.
There's a couple of cards to do it, but they're
it happens once, and people are like, "Oh, just kill Cody."
But yeah, like having to play those 9 and 10 and 12 drops, those are a blast because they're usually just really, really fun cards. Do really cool things that nobody's ever seen before, and I just thoroughly enjoy the high CMC stuff.
Right, and that high CMC today is not the high CMC of yesteryear.
No. Those are the better cards.
Yeah, like so, Sun Titan. I know I brought it up before, but it kind of just fits in the six mana category. It's a good card still, especially if you're running blink synergies and you're constantly doing that, or attack doublers, whatever. Still a really good card, but you don't see it as often because it was like the white Graveyard Recursion.
Yeah, premier and reanimation.
Like it was really good. Like if that was your synergy, you ran him because it was just the best for what you were planning on doing.
Yeah, for sure.
Now you hardly see him.
Nope.
Which sucks.
Yeah.
Like that. I feel even at this point, like 6 mana and on in Commander, it's got to be doing something good to be worth that much. You don't see anything really high, and that obviously, again, mileage may vary. But I feel like for us, like seeing those high CMC cards, you see them less and less.
Oh yeah, especially in the competitive formats too. It's very rare that you see something like that unless you're cheating it in somehow, some way, right?
Right.
But for the most part, yeah, it's sad to see Sun Titan because it was. I remember when I first started playing Commander, that was premium. That card came down, and a lot of people were not happy and scooping games and doing those types of things.
Right.
But now it's rare to see it because we have so many 5 mana reanimation, 4 mana reanimations in that same 2 mana, 3 mana, right? And so it's just kind of there's a lot of redundancy that just naturally pushed him out of the format, and it's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate. Yeah, so these last couple that we have are mostly just to do with deck expression. If your restriction that you have on your deck is that it wants to tell a story, wants to feature certain types of art, just has a theme in mind that it just kind of goes against optimization, which I feel like is most people's go-to in this stuff before they go to other restrictions necessarily, because they're more intuitive, they're more motion based.
Yep.
Those are very popular, and that's something that I do most often is like kind of the flavor decks.
Yeah, and I built one. Then we mentioned my Cup Tribal deck.
Yes,
it's the same thing. I'm trying to invoke a story, and the flavor is kind of funny.
Yeah. You can say that.
and so make sure trying to find all those cards, all those cup cards, having a 4-color deck with nothing but waste as your land base is very difficult, very hard to do. But at the end of the day, when the finished product it's hilarious for me. I just can't get enough of my Cup Tribal deck. And so as long as it tells the story I'm trying to tell, that's all that matters to me.
And you didn't really have any other restrictions in the deck besides flavor. Like it wasn't necessarily budget. It wasn't the cards you already owned. Like it took you 4 months to build it.
Yeah, no expense was spared. Unfortunately, this deck, I put a lot of money into it because some of these cards are really super old. Like Recycle is a really old card, and it was like $7, and it's a terrible card. But everything that it didn't matter the price. This deck had to be built. I had to build it, and it was just chef's kiss.
Chef's kiss. I like it. And that's so.
When you think about it, it's funny.
Yeah, it's great. Here's how my deck building process kind of works. Is I'll start building a deck. I'll try and get it as optimized as I can. Just over time, it'll get optimized. I'll win games with it, and I'll be like, okay, that was fun. What else can I do with this deck? I don't necessarily want to take it apart. what else can I do? And usually it's flavor. Like, how can I lean into the flavor more of this? So, like, I built Edward Kenway, the pirate commander, and I built him pretty optimized.
It's a pretty good deck.
It's pretty decent.
Well, it was anyway.
Until they banned Dockside, you know? It just sucked after that. It's a good pirate.
Yeah. He's an okay pirate.
He's an okay pirate. Low stats. He's whatever.
He can drive a monkey.
He can drive a monkey. Go watch the gameplay episode where I actually played Edward Kenway. If you want to go check that out, because that was really fun. I didn't there's some things that happened, but it was for fun. But over time, I took it and then I looked at it and I was like, wow, what are some things that I can do to make it more themed? So I like walk the plank, which is there's better black removal spells.
A lot of them.
It's 2 black pips. It's only non-merfolk creatures, which, I'm not playing against merfolk very often, but sorcery speed, so it's not instant. And I put that in there because walk the plank.
Yeah,
it's pirates.
That's what pirates do, man.
Why wouldn't I put that in there? I don't like tutors in my decks, but I actually put gamble. Anything like that's an optimized card. I don't have any graveyard recursion. If I lose it, it's gone. But pirates are gambling all the time. Like so there's that might not be the best example of the optimizing, but just like certain things that were added into my deck that I feel overall told the pirate story better. So I really like that. I think most of my decks go like this and like kind of come up and then go back down and kind of sit like right here at a 7.
Don't wait, mine do too.
No, there's some sacrifices made for flavor, but overall it's still pretty decent. It's a 7.
It's a solid 7.
It's a 7. So that's what I like. That's my favorite restriction.
It's definitely a fun one. If you haven't built one, build a thematic deck. Something it's absolutely terrible. Pick something that you like in Magic or in the world and try to make something out of it.
Right. Because that could be about anything.
Yeah, and whatever you want, dude. My Cup Tribal is based on.
I think we can stop talking about your Cup Tribal.
Don't Google it.
Don't do it. Goodness gracious. So bad. So we talked about the different restrictions, and we talked about like why it's hard to maybe fit in the restrictions just because they don't perform as well.
Yeah,
obviously, this is the name of the game. So what can we do maybe to find a home for those decks that have those restrictions placed on it that necessarily like can't compete in those optimized tables?
And so it's gonna go back to number one, right? It's a gathering of a bunch of nerds doing a similar thing. So we want to have conversations with the people around you. Get to know the other people in your pod, right? There's nothing wrong with having a casual conversation, even if you don't brush your teeth.
What?
Brush your teeth.
Yeah.
And then have conversations with people, right? Just talk. It's supposed to be a gathering of people around a game. You never know. Maybe you might start a podcast years later with somebody else.
Who knows?
Somebody you met at a nerd store.
Yeah, I think that's important.
Yeah, it is. It's super good. And then also just when it comes to not just getting but also getting good with your Rule Zero conversations.
Yes.
You want to make sure that you're having the honest conversation because you were telling the story earlier today about the dude that said it's a 5 and he had like 4 infinite win combos in his deck. Pretty sure that's not a 5, and I only know of 4 brackets that are there. So,
well, yeah, it's and we did do a Rule Zero video. We can check that out because Rule Zero is as hard it is to find a good base level for everyone involved at the table. Yep. The importance of it is still there. If you're wanting to play with something that's not optimized, you need to let the table know, like, hey, this deck is slow, or this has like very flimsy win con in it. That's kind of just funny, and like you can sell your deck to people and say like, hey, this is something really like I have a zombie deck that all it does is just draw my entire deck and nothing happens. Yep. And I've mentioned it before on the show. Like I don't if I kill you, it's on accident.
Oh yes, 100%.
Like it's that happens. Like that's the point of the deck, and so I'll explain that to people, and people are like, oh no, I don't know about that. But then it happens, and they're like, oh.
It's because they've been traumatized by zombies.
Yeah, something like that. But like being able to articulate that and just explain that this is the deck's purpose. Like, I'm not looking to do anything super crazy and super powerful. Then helping other people understand, I think they'll be more understanding.
I agree. And then, along with that, you mentioned about the zombie decks. Just getting an understanding of how things work is in general, rules, mechanics of the game itself, right?
Right.
And so if you understand that somebody is building a deck based on battles, it's probably not a good deck. I mean, battles are a horrible mechanic that just don't really work at all unless you're even with themselves, like in a contained format, they're still terrible. And so it's just understanding what mechanic, because if I've sat down with many people say, oh, I have this battle deck. And you get smoked out of because the table just instantly says, oh, I don't understand what it is. Go after this guy. And it's a terrible deck.
And it's, I disagree to some point, because the point of like understanding the mechanics and the game of Magic as well as you can help you take crappy mechanics and make them okay.
I guess that's true.
And again, like we say they're not good. Mostly just because we're thinking in mind of like, optimized tables. They're not going to perform. But if you truly understand the Magic rules and the cards, like if you're extremely smart and knowledgeable, more so than I am, I'll forget cards I play with all the time. But if you can come in with that knowledge, it can make that deck building process easier in the long run, because you have an understanding. It's like, with this battle, I can make it work with this card that doesn't get seen very often. And it's like there's a level of intelligence, I would say, maybe that comes into helping those decks perform.
I guess it's true. And I never put that much thought into it. I just wanted to put all the battles in the deck, see how it worked.
Yeah. If you don't give it very much thought, yeah. But I feel like that's with any deck that doesn't just run itself, yeah.
We'll optimize it later.
We'll put removal in it later. The last thing, and this is the best piece of advice we could possibly give, just in general, is just find what you enjoy about Magic, maybe other than winning.
100%.
There's lots of things to experience, whether it's the cool art, the wacky things your opponents are going to do. Like there's the lore, if you're interested in the lore.
Thoroughly.
If just find things that you're interested in.
Yeah.
And if you really just want to tell a story with your deck, that's awesome. I hope that brings you enjoyment. Like that brings enjoyment. I hope that brings you joy.
Yeah. And you'll see me, you've been in many pods with me. I'll sit down and I get stuck in doing everything else other than playing games. I will talk with everybody about life, love, and happiness and all that other stuff. I'll be trading cards in the middle of games because I enjoy doing that.
You're that person.
I mean, but I won't stop with anybody else's gameplay. I just won't play mine optimally. Obviously, that's what we do. But like the interactions, the humans that are there with you, I thoroughly enjoy interacting with those guys, those gals, whoever they may be. And just getting to know the people that I'm sharing this game with.
Right.
I think it's important to keep the gathering aspect of Magic alive.
Right. So what we're saying is just don't try and win anybody. Like, just let me win.
Yeah, just let him win.
Just let me win. Okay. just land pass. Like don't blow up my stuff. You come after my commander, like I'll be sad.
Yeah, that's right. Let's
more of the story.
More of the story is just play your game.
Play your game.
It's okay. It's okay if you want to come, if you come to the table to win, that's fine. Just let everybody know that's how it is, and everybody else will raise or lower or just won't care.
Right.
And they'll play their game how they want to play it as well. And at the end of the day, 30 minutes later, you can shuffle up and do it again. Right. Hopefully not with the same outcome, but do it again.
Yeah. Hopefully the outcome is it's an outcome you enjoy.
Exactly.
Whatever it is. Inner peace. Love it. Okay. Yeah, I think that wraps up our talk about optimization and why it's difficult and just like the other options that you have. So
That's right.
If you guys like the episode, make sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. We had an awesome salty take today. So if you want to have yours featured next week, please just leave a comment down below. Let us know it is a salty take, and hopefully we'll be featured next video. But until then,
don't be salty.